Hello and welcome to the Circuit Reflection for the 18th of July 2021. Words of comfort and hope will be brought to us by Donald Milne, who is one of our local pastors. Before we hear from Donald, we're going to sing All My Hope on God is Founded.
Hello. Over the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking quite a bit about death and dying. So, as you can imagine, it's going to be real laugh-a-minute stuff. But hopefully, we'll get through it together. And at the far end, hope is just what we'll find. Now, this might seem a strange thing to say, but since I took on my role as a local pastor, I've had the privilege, and it is a privilege, of seeing more of death, dying and bereavement than ever before in my life. It reminds me of the old saying about ministers. You know, their job is to hatch 'em, match 'em and dispatch 'em. Which, when you actually think about it, doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Okay, I can understand the match them and dispatch them bit, but the hatching? Really? I just have this vision of someone sitting in the corner of the delivery room in a dog collar as the birth happens and saying, "Don't mind me." Anyway, moving swiftly on. I hope that you have a good sense of imagination, because you're going to need it. I need you to imagine not this gnarled, grey-haired bloke you see in front of you, but a fresh-faced 13-year-old. That was when I moved from the junior Sunday school at Eastern Avenue Methodist Church in East London up to the intermediate section. And it was also when I was given this book. And you'll appreciate that as I still remember it 50 years later, more than 50 years later, it made a lasting impression. It's called Miracle on the River Kwai, and it recounts the experiences of Ernest Gordon as a prisoner of war of the Japanese. Now, my family history is entwined with the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. This picture is my grandfather in his uniform, about 1911. So I feel a personal affinity to this story, but the themes are universal. In amongst the tales of cruelty and death, of hunger and slave labour and disease, there is an overarching story of Christian hope. So why has it come to mind now? Well, one of the alternative set readings for this Sunday is the 23rd Psalm. And whenever I hear that, I'm reminded of this passage from the book. Set in one of the camps in Malaya, where men were dying every day from dysentery, malaria, beatings, and starvation. I was walking back to my hut one evening when a medical orderly stopped me. "Excuse me, sir," he said. "There's an Argyll on my ward who'd like to see you. He's a young lad, just arrived, but there's nothing we can do for him. He's dying. He has gangrene. It's all up with him." What would you like me to do then? Well, he's so miserable, I thought you could comfort him a bit. In any case, he'll be glad to see another Argyll. The long hut to which the orderly led me was crowded with new arrivals. We moved to about the centre of the hut and stopped before a motionless figure. He couldn't have been more than 18, not long out of school, and with only 6 months' training before being plunged into the bloodiest of actions, and now the worst kind of imprisonment. When he saw me, he began to speak rapidly, as though a great weight had been lifted from him. "I've been so lonely, sir. I don't know anyone here, and I'm scared." "What are you scared of?" "All kinds of things. But mostly, I guess, I'm going to die, aren't I?" What could I say? I knew that he hadn't a chance, given the advanced nature of his gangrene. I cleared my throat, searching for words. That's a possibility we all have to face. I faced it, and so have a lot of others. "I knew you'd understand," the boy nodded. I did not answer. I was thinking to myself, do I? Can I ever understand what goes on in another sufferer's heart and mind? His tremulous smile was fading. "My mum and dad will miss me. I'm the only one they've got, and they'll be so lonely when I don't come back. It's tough to be young and to have to die." Here, let me read you something that may help. I spoke the words evenly, pretending to be more in control of my emotions than I actually was. I had my Bible with me and opened its torn pages, reading in the half-light those words that had comforted countless souls before him. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." I looked over at him. He was lying quietly. I turned to another passage. "I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. believest thou this? I put the Bible down. His face was calm as he listened to the message of those words. After a bit, he turned his gaze to me and said with perfect calm, "Everything's going to be all right, isn't it?" Yes, I nodded. Everything is going to be all right. Those words from the 23rd Psalm, of course, predate Christianity and have comforted people for more than 2,500 years. And those words of Christ, taken from the Gospel according to John, are said right at the start of most Christian funerals. Let's listen to them in their original scriptural setting now.
My shepherd being Yahweh, I don't lack. He enables me to lie down in grassy pastures. He leads me to settled water. He turns my life back. He guides me in faithful tracks for the sake of his name. Even when I walk in a deathly dark ravine, I am not afraid of bad fortune, because you're with me. Your club and your cane, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in front of my adversaries. You've enriched my head with oil. My cup fills me up. Yes, goodness and commitment pursue me all the days of my life. I shall go back to Yahweh's house for long days. So when Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles away. Many of the Judeans had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus had arrived, she went to meet him. Mary, meanwhile, stayed sitting at home. "Master," said Martha to Jesus, "if only you'd been here, then my brother wouldn't have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask him for." "Your brother will rise again," replied Jesus. "I know he will rise again," said Martha, "in the resurrection on the last day." "I am the resurrection and the life," replied Jesus. "Anyone who believes in me will live even if they die."
Don't you just love it when you're watching one of those soaps on the telly and a character says, "It's going to be all right, I promise." You just know that means everything is about to go to hell in a handcart. It's inevitable that within a few scenes the character will find out they're being cheated on, or they'll be sent to prison, or killed by a runaway tram. Never make promises you can't fulfill. You can promise to do your best in any situation, but anything more than that is just words, and the person hearing them knows that too. Here's another book I read just a few years ago. It's called The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, and his avowed aim was to turn anyone with a religious faith into an atheist by the time they'd finished reading it. Well, as you can see, he failed. He spent most of the time attacking a different God to the one I believe in, and a different church to the one I see. But it was good to see his arguments. And in one section in this book, he deals with consolation. If God doesn't exist as he believes, then, as he says, what have you got to offer the dying patients, the weeping bereaved, the lonely Eleanor Rigby's, for whom God is their only friend? And he quotes approvingly Bertrand Russell, who said, "I believe that when I die I shall rot, and nothing of my ego will survive." And then he kind of half approves of people being lied to, or at least being misled about the life to come, if that brings them some comfort. Poor innocent fools who don't have his intellect and power of reason. Well, I'm sorry, but that won't do. For at least two reasons. First, what would he say to that young lad dying in pain, a prisoner in a filthy hospital, thousands of miles away from home and family? It's okay. When you die, you rot, and that's it. All those dreams and aspirations you had as to what your life might be, not going to happen. And nobody cares. Get over it. Secondly, and even more importantly, Ernest Gordon's words weren't some made-up attempt to comfort the young man by shielding him from the truth. They were fronting up to a terrible situation and stating clearly and unequivocally his belief that there was something even stronger, something that could overpower anything he had to face. And that something was the God who loved him, shown through Jesus Christ. When Martin King told the world he had a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will be judged not by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character, that wasn't some vague wish. Wouldn't it be nice if it was a statement of his belief in a God who would change things? When I read the prayers at the close of life with someone about to die, I say, and I paraphrase here, it's okay. You can let go. The God who created you, who conquered death for you, is waiting for you. Those are not just words to comfort some poor credulous fool. They are a statement of belief. Now, I accept that believing them doesn't make them true. But if, as I believe, they are true, then they can give a comfort that no human, however kind or intelligent or rational, could ever offer. They give peace beyond our understanding. Martin Luther King used to say, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." Because he believed in a God who loves us. If you're a real rational atheist like Richard Dawkins, then that makes no sense. There is no reason why things shouldn't just keep on getting worse. No reason why tyranny or plague shouldn't always win. If I'm going to listen to an atheist, I prefer Yip Harburg, a Jewish atheist and lyricist who in 1938, as the horrors of Nazism were apparent and war was inevitable, was able to write these words.
Up that you dare to dream really do come true.
That was sung at a recent funeral I led by the granddaughter of the lady who died. And of course it refers to the eternal God-given sign of hope, the rainbow. Hope, not based on what we wish for or on the best that we can do, but based on the God we know in Christ.
The Lord's my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me lie in pastures green. He leads me by the still, still waters. His goodness restores my soul. And I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. He guides my ways in righteousness, and He anoints my head with oil, and my cup it overflows with joy. I feast on His pure delights, and I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. And though I walk the darkest path, I will not fear the evil one. For you are with me, and your rod and staff are the comfort I need to know. And I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. And I will trust, and I will trust in you alone. And I will trust in you alone. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home. For your endless mercy. For your endless mercy follows me. Your goodness will lead me home.
A short prayer to finish. Shall we pray? Loving God, we thank you for all those times when you have come to our aid, just when we've begun to lose hope. We face problems and difficulties to which we see no solution. only for you to give us guidance when we need it most. We feel helplessly alone, only to discover you by our side. We wrestle with sorrow and despair, only for your light to break into darkness, bringing joy and hope through the knowledge of your love. Teach us through such experiences to remember that however bleak a moment may seem, you will never abandon or forsake us. And in that confidence, may we live each day through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.